Alors effectivement, je suis président et chef de la direction d'Addenda Capital. Ça, c'est mon travail. Et également, j'ai une parascolaire assez importante qui est de présider le conseil de l'Association d'investissement responsable. So the Responsible Investment Association is really, it's an industry association which was originally put together to really share best practices, get socially responsible investment known, and educate the public. And that's really what it was when I joined the organization back in, I guess the board was in 2015, and it was really to spread the word and get more people in the tent, more industry participants in the tent. Today, and our CEO, Pat Fletcher, is here. So Pat, good to see you. And the membership today represents $44 trillion in assets under management. 12 trillion is managed in Canada, and 32 trillion is owned by companies that have a presence in Canada but are not there. So $12 trillion, that's a lot of Canadians that are touched by that assets and that asset base. And if we look, we just had our Responsible Investment Trends report pop out for 2022, and the data is quite interesting. They say that the responsible assets really specifically are at $3 trillion, and they were there at 2021, and then they went down to $2.9 trillion. So that's a bit of a decline, but really that's kind of flat, because I don't know if you guys remember 2022, but if you had investment portfolios, it wasn't a fun year. You know, the minus 10, 12, 20% was sort of the norm depending on where you were invested. There was nowhere to hide. It was very tough for our clients, and it was very tough for the industry. So actually staying flat in a down year, in my mind, is that we're making progress. And sure enough, if you look at the percentage of AUM, Canadian Assets Under Management, we went up from 47 to 49%. So that means there's a lot of Canadians that are really invested in responsible investment. And I guess that's why this event is quite popular. Despite the headwinds then, the headwinds of also some pushback, south of the border, accusations of greenwashing. I think the industry is cleaning up its act in a very major way. I think there's more intent to do good than people realize. But despite that, I would say the responsible investing and ESG integration is here to stay. Plus récemment, l'AIR a lancé un partenariat avec Ceres, avec les PRI, et avec Share pour lancer Engagement Climatique Canada, Climate Engagement Canada. So that is to take on the 40 largest issuers in Canada that are not part of Climate Action 100 Plus, and to get them into the transition mode. And so we launched that 2 years ago, industry really driven, and obviously some very strategic partners in Ceres and Share and PRI, but also the bunch of managers that actually paid up and get the budget going. And we did get recently ECCC funding, which is great because it really stabilizes. And what we're trying to do is really look at ESG integration, stewardship transition, and making sure that we really want to make sure that companies have a strategy to get to a climate-aligned portfolio. So we want to get to net zero. And so we just finished our benchmarking, and we'll be working on that. And you'll be hearing more about that in the next few months. But today, one of the reasons that I'm here is actually, it's one of the greater focuses of the RIA as well, is on advocacy. You know, we have finance and capital flows, and you heard it yesterday, and I just really want to go back to it. You know, investors, they need clarity. We need clear signals. We need certainty. And we're starting to, the opportunity is there. There's no doubt. You heard it today. There's social finance, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. But there is such massive amounts of capital that is ready to unlock. But we have to give clear signals. And if we do that, we can really unlock that capital and mainstream capital, sorry, and we can really affect serious change. So that's my sideline. I'll bring it back to more to day-to-day activity. At Addenda, we manage $35 billion under management. So $35 billion. It's a slower. It's a serious amount of money. But really, the way I look at it is, we touch, we believe, about 1.5 million Canadian families. We touch insurance. We manage a lot of assets for insurance companies. So if you have an insurance product, either on your car, your home, that's not a lot of money that you pay as a premium. But that investment, that premium is invested, and it's very important to give returns to those insurance companies to make sure that they have the money to pay your claim at that point. We also manage a fair bit of pension money, not 6 million people like Marc-André, but we figure we touch quite a few. And we also have a number of sub-advisory mutual funds. So people put their life savings or put some of their savings and in a small ticket. So that's 1.5 million families that we touch. And so our fiduciary obligation remains, unfortunately, only to deliver financial returns. It's unfortunate because, to my mind, it doesn't matter for us. We integrate ESG, and we've actually figured out a way to get non-financial returns. But our clients, some of them mid-sized pension funds, they don't have clarity whether that's off-grid to invest in sustainable strategies. They really feel that their main focus is to deliver financial returns. So clarifying that would be very useful. That being said, we've noticed that including ESG in our decision-making processes improve returns, and that's really, really quite interesting and important. And what we're finding is more and more of our client base, in fact, we've started doing impact investing. So these are investments for which we get financial returns and non-financial returns, which are measurable and observable, and which we report on to our clients. And those are growing. And why is that? Because more and more clients are starting to understand that they can actually get financial returns and non-financial returns, and they like that. We heard from foundations, endowments, family offices, and some pensions that they align their capital with their granting, with their mission, and it makes total sense. So that's very, very useful. One of the things that I think I want to touch on in a few minutes is the whole metric of bonds and green bonds. They were invented roughly 10, 15 years ago, about 15 is more like it, and codifying the whole system, the frameworks, and the use of proceeds reporting, that has become a very, very powerful tool. But now we're using that same framework, and we're applying it to transition. So CBI came out with transition bonds. As we heard from Rob yesterday, we want to get CBI to think about resilience and building codifying and frameworks for resilience. But we can do other things. We can do on other social projects. Imagine unlocking capital, for instance, to affect change with on social bonds. Again, that's the one. But how about Indigenous? We heard that is a very serious opportunity that we have ahead of us to use that same framework, the way it's built, around Indigenous reconciliation, economic reconciliation. So there's a lot of ways that things can be done. So at the end of the day, we are finding that more and more of our clients align their capital with their mission, and they understand that they can get non-financial returns with their capital. And large amounts of capital is understanding that. But again, I want to come back to this on a close. Capital and investors need clear rules. We need certainty, and we need price signals. If you give those, you can unlock capital at scale and really affect monumental change, both at the social level, at the environmental level, and improve outcomes for human problems. Obviously, doing this is difficult. Call out to policymakers. It's not easy to do policy. But I think I'll go back to Chief yesterday and on the opening and the elder, and think about the kids. Think about the future. That's what I tell my kids every day. Do the right thing. That's what I tell my staff every day. Do the right thing. So I tell policymakers, do the right thing. It's hard, but you'll never look back. Thank you.